All right, guys, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much. I am beyond excited that you're here. Settle in, grab your pen, grab your paper, because we have a lot of amazing things to talk about when it comes to training those weed poles. All right, so first of all, the thing that I want you to know is that this masterclass will help you to confidently take your dog with either little to no understanding of how to weave or is an inconsistent weaver and to train them to tackle the obstacle with drive, speed, and independence. For those of you I haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Lisa Selthofer, and I first got started in dog agility with my Dalmatian Pinky. I got started in this because I thought that dog agility would just be this fun activity that I do with my dog simply as a hobby. But it turned out to be much more fun. And thinking back, I remember that moment I was hooked and I realized that it was this exciting, challenging, and that it was one of the best places that I have met the most amazing people. And we bonded over doing dog agility with our dogs. So just like we're coming together here in this webinar, that's what the dog agility community is all about. So fast forward a bit into my journey, and in 2000, I became an agility judge. And believe it or not, I did it on a dare. Somebody told me that 80% of the people didn't pass, and I thought, bring it on. Let's see how this works. And honestly, I have absolutely loved it. But the most powerful thing to come from this experience is that I've had the privilege to watch well over 200,000 agility runs from teams worldwide. I literally get paid to watch dogs doing one of my favorite activities, which is dog agility. So in this webinar, I'm going to share with you the observations on what those 200,000 runs has taught me when it comes to having successful weave poles. I put this training together because I have been exactly where you at when it comes to weave poles. So tell me if this sounds familiar, and just go ahead and type me too in the comments if you've ever had a thought something like this. I want to create the best agility training experience for my dog. What if I don't know what that is, or I can't figure that out, right? Ever had that little voice say that to you? Or I want them to be happy and love agility as much as I do. What if I make a mistake in training the weaves, or I don't know how to fix their weave issue? How about I want to pick the right training? What if I don't know how to choose the right weave pole method for my dog, or I don't understand the training? So my big personal fear is, what if I screw up my dog's weave pole training? And then I was like, oh my God, my poor dog, right? So tell me, have you ever had that concern? Go ahead, write me too in the comments. Oh my gosh, look at these. Yes, me too, me too, me too, right? I think that this is a secret thing that you get this puppy and you don't talk about it. But it's this fear that's going on. And so this is a picture of my puppy Serge. And by the way, he's not so much of a puppy anymore. But when I went to start his weave pole training, my greatest fear did become my reality. And that was my fear of not knowing what to do to help my dog learn his weave poles. As a bit of a backstory, I had decided to use a specific well-known weave training method. I'd even used it in the past, and I was using this specific how-to article that came highly recommended, right? So, I listened to my friends, and I must have read that article over 20 times. I even drew diagrams to try to better understand it. But no matter what I did, there was a huge disconnect, and I was not getting it. And boy, was I getting frustrated, because my greatest fears of me screwing up my dog was literally coming to life right before my eyes. And so, of course, in my infinite wisdom, I put a call of help out my 4,500 Facebook agility friends, right? And after 450 comments, links, videos, and other resources that people kept sending me, I came to this realization. This method that I was trying to train, and the reason that I was getting so confused was because there was one method with the same name, but there were two very different styles when it came to training. So I remember thinking, if nobody is clarifying this, and I mean nobody was clarifying this, and that was a moment that I made the decision to help you get started in a way so you and your dog can enjoy training the weeds together and avoid the frustration and overwhelm that I experienced. All right, so let's jump right into the 3 steps you need to know to train your dream weave poles without the overwhelm. First, set your goals. Second, choose your method. And third, focus on the pillars. And I'm going to go through all 3 of these. All right, so step 1 to shortcut your dog's weave training is to set your goals. So if you're newer to dog agility, you're going to want to listen up. For those of you who have trained a dog on weave poles, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. There's nothing more frustrating than going through what you thought were the entire steps to train weave poles, only to find that at the end, there are holes in your training. So how do you pass this? Goals, goals, goals. I'm just going to keep saying that. So first of all, get clear on the kind of performance you want and realistically need to do weave poles. That's important. You've got to get clear on what you want. And then you need to be realistic about what your needs are when it comes to training the weave poles. All right, so let's talk about the difference in experience, right? So we need to, first of all, when you're deciding and you're looking at your goals, let's be realistic about what the experience level can mean when it comes to training our weave poles. So the differences in experience and the potential pitfalls that can occur, especially for beginner handlers. So for those who are newer to dog agility, the thought of training their dog to do the weaves seems insurmountable and foreign. Oftentimes, they see this obstacle as the dog simply going back and forth or from left to right. If you're intermediate handlers, in other words, that's what your experience level is, they tend to recognize that training their dog to do the weaves is more than just going back and forth. They know that they need some additional knowledge, that they need their dog to perform the weaves perhaps independently and at a distance, and they understand there's an advantage to that. Then we have the master level handlers, and they likely know that the higher skills, such as independence at the weaves, drive, speed, all of those things are necessary in order to be strategic or even competitive. So I want you to take a moment right now, write down the experience level that best relates to you. How would you describe yourself? Are you a beginner? Are you an intermediate? Or are you a master? And this is going to be important later in the presentation. Next, when creating your weave goals, it's important to assess the uniqueness of your team and your individual traits. Begin by assessing both the dog and the handler. So this includes things like the speed of the dog, the confidence of your dog. Are they what we call a Velcro dog, where the dog likes to stay right next to you? Or are they the opposite? They're the kind of dog that likes to run off and go visit. Understanding your dog's traits is likely going to help you in setting up weave pole training that will work to your benefit. So when it comes to the handler, you're going to want to take into account things like athleticism, or in my case, the lack of athleticism and other individual traits. For example, I am not a fast runner. I was never a sprinter in my school age years, and I certainly haven't gained speed as I've gotten older. And also to add to that, I have a reconstructed foot. So when I'm designing my weave pole goals, I take these things into account so that I can train my dog's skills that will complement my needs while creating success at the weave poles. I think it's really important to take your uniqueness into account and to embrace those things before you begin training. And it's one of those things where you just want to understand exactly what it is you need out of your weave pole training. It's going to help you so that you're not hiding those things, but in fact, you're going to own them, and it's going to really simplify your training in a way that uses that to your advantage. All right, so what types of goals? Goals should inform and provide you knowledge. So, example, you'll need to have a better understanding of what you're training for in order to be successful. You need to understand what the purpose is and what you want your weave poles to be. When you have goals, they not only provide us with the purpose, but they guide us to be proactive versus reactive. They also are the blueprint for what our weaves will look like at the end of all of our effort. And they define what it feels like, right? Because weave poles should be fun and successful. So if while you're training weave poles, you're not having fun and you're not having success, you're not meeting your goals. And that's a sign something needs to change. All right, so when I first started out in dog agility, when it came to my dog's weave pole performance, I really thought that I had to physically be in the right place at the right time and do this specific back and forth arm action in order for my dog to do the entire weave poles correctly. That's really what I thought. And by the way, this really is a picture of me. It's a very old picture. Here was the irony of me trying to be in the exact physical spot that I needed to be. Since my dog had 4 legs and I only had 2 legs, and my dog was much faster than I was, there were constant errors. In fact, I was getting frustrated at my dog, thinking she wasn't paying attention and saying she knows how to weave, when the problem wasn't my dog, the problem was our training. Remember when I told you that I am not a fast runner? Well, guess what? My dog was way faster than I was. And so for me to have the expectation that I could be magically in this spot where she needed to be, that was definitely a hole in my weave pole training. All right, so my expert tip for you, you need to dream big on what your weave poles are going to look like. I want you to train for the master level weaves, right? Where you've got the independence, you've got the drive, you've got the speed. I want you, even if you're a beginner, to train for that master level weaves. Don't be like me, who then had to go back and retrain my weaves because I had done it incorrectly the first time. And to do that, you need to take your big goal of what your most awesome weave pole performance is going to look like and break it down into smaller, trainable goals within that weave performance. All right, so let's go on to step 2. Pick your method. One of the most information overloaded points of weave pole training is picking a method. It seems like everyone has an opinion on which method works best, and in fact, there are at least 10 different types of weave training methods to choose from. I get that you just want the very best weave training experience for your dog, and most likely right now, you're just hoping to get through that weave pole training process as painlessly as possible. So here's some good news for you. There is no one right method. All of those methods work. So you can choose the method that fits you. If you're just looking to get through this in the most painless way possible, kind of a side tip here, you need to pick a method that works for you. All right, let's talk about some of the different methods. First of all, let's talk about the biggest consideration when it comes to choosing a method. It's called the Great Containment Debate. And let me explain to you what that is. Basically, containment, what that means is the amount of gadgets, right? When you're training weave poles, are you going to have more gadgets or are you going to have less gadgets? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of all the weave pole training methods on a straight line continuum. right? On the left side, there are methods with less gadgets or things around the poles to show the dog the path. And on the right side, there are methods with more gadgets all the way up to what I'll call full containment, where the dog has no option except to follow a single path through. I want you to think about a corn maze where there's only one path and you can't sneak on through. At first glance, the more containment with the single path may seem like a time-saving shortcut to weed pole training, and I'm going to tell you that is a myth, and here's why. First, think of what the weed poles look like at the end result. So when you're looking at either a training class and you're supposed to have already known the weaves, or at a competition, they are 12 poles in a straight line. And ultimately, your dog's goal in weaving is that they'll do that obstacle. So back to my example of the straight line with the open method on the left and the more contained methods on the right. When you use methods on the left side of the line, which have less containment, it looks much more like the finished obstacle. And since the dog's weave path may not be as immediately clear to the dog, you're going to put more training time at the beginning part of your training. Now I want you to think about the containment method on the right-hand side. That's the one where, you could have a weave pole method where literally they have gates that are 4 feet high around the actual poles. Now, here's the problem. That obstacle doesn't resemble the finished obstacle because it's got these gates around it. That means while your dog may technically be weaving the poles quicker, what happens is as you start to remove all of those gadgets, you're going to spend more time at the end of your training as you fade those gadgets away. So bottom line, there's no shortcut on time when it comes to training your dog to weave. You'll likely put more time in up front, or you'll put more time toward the end. Either way, it's going to be the same amount of time. So you've just got to decide, do you want more stuff or do you want less stuff? So when considering a method, here's some of the things to consider. First of all, a budget. The more gadgets, possibly the more money, right? And it's definitely going to be more time putting those gadgets on. Also, some methods require different types of training poles. So the good news is there are many vendors out there who have weave poles that are adaptable. Next, confidence, right? No matter which method you choose, you need to be okay with errors because they will happen. Errors are a part of learning, and my advice is to be kind, patient, and learn to laugh, even if it's just at yourself. Believe me, you will be much happier with that. Also, pick a method you understand and can be excited about. Research into the methods will give you confidence and understanding. All right, so time. We talked about the gadgets. So here's the question. Do you want to spend your time up front, right in the beginning, where you're using a weave method that resembles the finished obstacle, or are you proficient in the art of fading or removing gadgets in a way that keeps your dog successful? Now, here's the other option. I talked about the far left. I talked about the far right. You know what? There are definitely weave pole methods that are middle of the ground. So they look like the end result weave poles, and they have a little bit of guides in those to help you out. All right, so I was going to train using a specific method, right? Not because it was the right method for me, but because it was the hottest, most recommended method people swore by. Before this, I had trained at least 12 of my other dogs with different methods, and I thought, hey, I'm going to try this new method. Here's the thing. I spent 3 weeks in the beginning stages of this method, and after each training session, both my dog and I were frustrated and confused, but I was determined I was going to stick with it. And at one point, I remember thinking, maybe my dog is never going to weave. And I don't understand. He's not getting it. It's just not clicking. There was even a moment, and this was a sign, where I thought, oh my gosh, is there just something not right with my dog that he's not getting it? I was completely baffled. And basically, what was happening is this whole process was zapping my confidence. And worse yet, it was creating tension at the weave poles between my dog and I. And I could tell my dog was not enjoying the poles. And quite frankly, neither was I. Every day, I felt like a failure. So on week 4, right? I tried this for 3 weeks, multiple times a day. I tried all sorts of things. On week 4, I completely scrapped that method and went back to another method I was comfortable with. And within 2 days, we had made more progress on that method than I had made in 3 weeks with the original method. And immediately my confidence returned. My dog was happy, and we were having a blast training our weave poles. So, my expert advice to you, choose a method that works for you. Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean it's a good fit for you. And that's okay. That's why there are at least 10 different methods. All right, let's go to step 3. If by some chance you were momentarily distracted by your phone, by Facebook, it's time to stop and come back because you're not going to want to miss step 3. Step 3 is unique to my training, and it's also my most successful and proven strategy when it comes to training your dog the weave pole performance of your dreams. So grab that pen and paper if you haven't been already. All right, so after 25 years of training weave poles, I noticed 2 trends to live by when it comes to the weave pole performance. First, all dogs that have amazing weaves have mastered 3 parts of the weaves. Secondly, the majority, and I would bet to say every single one, but I'm just going to err on the side of caution and say the majority of dogs who have been trained on weave poles usually require retraining in 1 or more of those 3 parts of the weaves. In other words, there's a hole in the original training. Regardless of your preferred weave method, focus your training on the 3 training pillars that lead to success in weave poles. And they are the entry, the middle, and the exit. Seems really simple, but let's talk about that. Starting with foundation training that's away from the weave poles. Train your dog with exercises that teaches them to drive to the entry and then collect themselves physically as they prepare to shift to their footwork. Everyone thinks that weave pole training should start immediately with weave poles. I disagree. There are foundations that you can do, skill sets that you can build away from the weave poles so that when you apply those to the weaves, it goes much quicker and it's much more consistent. So training a dog to drive to the weave entry and to find the entry from any challenging angle gives you an advantage over other agility teams, and it creates show-stopping weaves that people get excited about. So next, utilize exercises and foundation skills that encourage speed, that encourage efficiency and consistency when it comes to their footwork. If the dog has a good understanding of their footwork and they're efficient, oh, that speed just comes. And if they have an understanding of how to maneuver their body physically through the poles, you are going to have spectacular weave middles. Lastly, you need to train your dog the exit. That means taking foundation skills that teaches your dog to look ahead past what would be that imaginary 12th pole so that they can complete the weaves independently. This definitely gives you a strategic advantage when you're planning your handling, and you didn't have to be like me where you always had to be in just the right physical spot to make sure that your dogs finish the weave poles. Let me tell you a story. In all my judging experience, I figured out what makes a successful performance. After watching thousands of absolutely fantastic dog agility teams and also standing by while other teams struggled, It's become very easy as a judge to pinpoint exactly which teams are going to succeed in their weave pole performance and which ones are going to struggle. I can see this the moment they're heading to the weave poles and even in the middle of the poles as to what's going to happen next. I want you to listen really close here. If you take away just one thing from this webinar, I want you to hear and know this. When it comes to the weave poles, the only difference between that amazing masters team and the team who hasn't yet achieved their weave pole potential is their performance at the entry, the middle, and the exit. When you master those three things, you absolutely will have your dream weave poles. My expert tip: focus on foundation exercises that strengthen your dog's skills in the entry, the middle, and the exit. And let's review the 3 steps you need to take to train your dream weave pole performance without the overwhelm. Number 1, set your goals. Number 2, choose your method. Number 3, focus on those 3 pillars. Following these 3 steps not only gives you clarity, it gives you knowledge, and it also gives you the direction you need to be confident in your weave pole training. No matter what your goal or method, your agility training has got to be fun. And by the way, your agility training should be both successful and fun. Now that you know the 3 steps to train your dream weave pole performance, it's time for you to take some action and finally dive into the deep end of weave pole training and get the results that you've been waiting for. If you're ready to go from which method do I choose, how do I fix my weave poles, I'm so overwhelmed, to oh my gosh, my dog can weave and they genuinely love it and we are both so confident. I'm excited to invite you to continue our momentum from this weave pole training and invite you to join me, the WEAVE Pole Mastery course. This is the second time that I'm opening up this course and it's been in high demand and I'm so excited by this. This is a 6-week group coaching program using my signature 3-step system that teaches your dog to find the entry from all angles, weave at full speed, and complete the poles independently. What you'll learn is week 0. We're going to go through the strategy and goal setting. Let's take your individual team. Let's really hammer out what it is that you need, and let's make sure that we pick a method that you can be excited about and fits your team's individual goals. Weeks 1 through 4, learning and implementation. Every single week, you're going to get new exercises on foundation, entry exercises, exits, speed, and of course, core weaving. Whichever weave pole method you have chosen, I am going to work with you on that. We're also going to talk about common weave pole problems, and I am going to give you challenges on course. So this way you can prepare for anything and everything that a judge may throw at you. Weeks 5 and 6, continued coaching and implementation. Here's the beauty part. You're also going to get additional support. One of the things I want to point out is you are going to get lifetime access. This means that every time I re-offer the course, you get to take it. You're also going to have access to a video reference library that has over 300 videos of past participants who have taken this course, so that you can also learn from them. The beauty part is you also get to have personal video feedback and review. You video your items and I will actually take and do voiceovers, slow it down, draw items on there, and literally give you very specific feedback based on your individual team. There's also some bonus material, so hang on for that. Who should join this course? It doesn't matter whether you're a brand new team to weaving or you've got a dog who's an inconsistent weaver and needs more training. This program is absolutely designed for you. And puppies can also join. So here I've got Anna, a former student, and she had DJ who is now 16 months old. But when she first took the course, he was not quite physically grown. And so what she did is she did the foundation exercises. And now she's coming back to finish her WEAVE pole training now that her dog is older and physically and mentally mature to do that. All right. Also, here's Mary. And as much as she loved her dog Splash, boy, his popping out of that tent pole had definitely cost her many a run. And she had tried everything. Her friends and trainers had given her all sorts of suggestions. And as you can see here, as soon as she was done taking my course, she is absolutely thrilled with the results that she has, and we are still in touch. What happens if you have no idea which method you want to choose, right? Hey, you know what? I get it. I've been there, and it can be such an overwhelm. And as a bonus, I'm going to teach you 5 of the most popular methods. I have in this training, there are full tutorials, videos, and PDFs that include how to train the channel method, the 2x2 straight line method, the 2x2 angled method, the V-set, Weave-O-Matics, or WHAM, depending on how you may know that method, and then all of the containment methods. What happens if you don't have time for training? Well, it's a 6-week program, and I break all of the training down into incredibly small, manageable, easy to train pieces. In fact, I ask that you only train in 1-minute increments multiple times a day. So here we've got Julie, one of my students, and she definitely is a busy person. She can't believe the difference all the little training exercises made in her performance, and she's trusting her dog, and her dog is trusting her. And as you can see, she never thought that she'd have time with her work schedule to train all the skills for success. But as you can see, she is absolutely thrilled. So I definitely keep busy schedules in mind. What does online training even look like? Well, easy step-by-step video with printable downloads. I love to keep things short, sweet, specific so that you can be successful. And then we're going to build up step-by-step from there. Plus, you're going to have over 300 training videos for hands-on support. It's headache-free tech. As a matter of fact, all you have to do is have a device that has an internet connection, and you can even watch from your mobile phone. There's an actual app there. So here we have Jill, and she was definitely one of those people where, as you can see at the bottom sentence, she said, would do this course again without hesitation. And I had a lot of resistance to distance learning prior to taking this course. As a matter of fact, Jill has never taken an online course in dog agility. So kudos to you, Jill. Great job on your success. What if you're already taking in-person classes? If you want to achieve quicker results, eliminate the tension between you and your dog at the weaves that can occur with being 100% dependent on the slow pace of a class, this course is definitely for you. So here we've got Crystal, and despite taking a class, this course has been a great tool in showing me how to really teach weaves, the different methods, and help my dog to work on independence. So she chose the 2x2 method, and she was one of the people where as soon as she came back to her in-person classes, her instructor was both surprised and happy at her results. So what equipment do you need? Well, first of all, we're going to start out with no specialized equipment at all. As a matter of fact, for our foundations, we're using items that are around the house. And then as the program progresses, you'll need weave poles. And I have vendors that I've already negotiated rates with, and I've got price points from $130 all the way on up. All right, so at this point, I'll bet you're wondering how much is all of this going to cost? Well, guess what? It's probably not as much as you're thinking, and I've also got a special bonus for you for joining me in this webinar. Normally, this course is $297, and that's the equivalent of a single 4-day agility trial. As a way to thank you for joining me in this webinar, right now, if you sign up and join me in this class, your price will be $247. All right, so what if you need extra support, right? Video reviews, I have got you covered on that. You video, I watch, I give very specific feedback on that. If you would like to have your videos be private, that's fine. Just tell me. We definitely can work on that. Also, you're going to get access to a private Facebook community. And this is an ongoing community of previous classes. And I've also got some attendees. Like I said, remember that lifetime access? Well, guess what? As they come back, they can also work their dogs right alongside you. So you can learn from them and they can also learn from you. I've also got resource and bonus trainings and a huge resource library to shortcut your research. Carolyn, Lisa's presentation style is enjoyable. The class format and materials were well designed, and this class gave me a better attitude of or a greater tolerance of the process. Absolutely. All right. So I've created this program so you can see your dog drive to the weaves from a distance with speed and independence while successfully navigating challenging sequences and full courses. I'm so excited to share that enrollment is now open for the WEAVE Pole Mastery Program, and I'm inviting you to join me to train or troubleshoot your dream WEAVE pole performance. You're one click away from having the confidence, joy, pride, and results that come when you join the WEAVE Pole Mastery course and create a desire in your dog to consistently tackle the weaves with drive, speed, and independence. If you're ready to buy the last WEAVE pole training you'll ever need, then go to spotonagility.com/weaves, and I'll see you on the inside. Thank you so much for joining me in this webinar.